Someone was asking if I'd seen the retirement story. Yes, I did have a look at that. I think TV1 did a quick thing on it. I didn't look crazy into it though. It doesn't look like there's going to be much on that until early next year when they actually make some, whether or not they take up the recommendations. But essentially, it was saying, women disproportionately affected by not working for as long as their male counterparts. They have lower retirement savings, lower Kiwisavers when they retire. Will they do anything about that? Whether or not they'll extend the parental boost to your Kiwisaver if you're on parental leave. Which, now that I think about it, that in itself is kind of fucked up. Because you only get parental leave if you have a job and if you meet the job requirements to get parental leave, which I think is like you have to have been working at least 10 hours a week for 6 months before you've had your baby. Before you have I think it's your due date even. And I know some people who have had babies and during their pregnancy, they could not work. Like throwing up every other day, which is an awful, like the proper, like not just like morning sickness, but just like chronic morning sickness, which I'm just like, no, thank you. It sounds like a nightmare for like their whole 9 months. So I don't know how you get your 10 hours in, but I don't know. So there's that part of it. So yeah, if you get parental leave, the like proper government parental leave that pays you out the max of what you earned. It's like the max is $600 a pay. I can't remember what it is. Then you get $1,000 into your Kiwisaver. Because obviously you don't meet that $1,000 threshold to get the extra money that the government gives you. One of the other recommendations I saw there was the so you know how we talked about how the government cut their Kiwisaver contributions if you put in $1,000 from 50 cents a dollar to 25 cents a dollar up to 1,000. Yeah, the recommendation of the report was to reverse that decision and make the government put money into Kiwisaver as well. That would be great. So that was one of the other recommendations. There was also one of the ones I really liked was the sidecar recommendation, which is basically like a split fund. So you have your Kiwisaver main fund, and then you have a sidecar fund, which slowly racks up a percentage to the side, essentially, so that people can't do hardship withdrawals on all of their Kiwisaver, but they do hardship withdrawals on a part of their Kiwisaver, kind of, on like a separated part of their Kiwisaver. I think is a really, really good idea. I think they were saying there's a few countries that do that. Yeah, there was a few recommendations, but one of the big things that they're mentioning is that there are half as many retirees, or there will be about half as many retirees that will have secure housing and will have ongoing housing costs, or not even housing costs, ongoing living. Wait, what would you call it? Housing, home costs, housing costs. Yeah, I suppose housing. And we're seeing more and more and more retirees in rentals than their own homes, which is really sad, and that should not be the way. We also saw in the States, it just reminded me, the 50-year mortgages that they proposed, and there's a lot of backlash, obviously, with that, and how crazy that is. Because obviously, if you're paying interest for that long, what you'd be paying over time would be insane. Anyways, go and have a look at that. It's quite interesting. Alrighty. Yeah, massive scam. Alright, so Oh, we're almost at 10 o'clock. Wonderful. I've entertained you for 1 hour. I'm going to entertain you for no more than 30 more. Hold me to it. I did have that story. Do we want to have, seeing as I've just talked about it, let's throw it up on the screen. And then we can have we'll see if my memory was correct and I got the correct stats. I can hopefully, I don't know how loud this is going to be. I've been playing around with this a bit. Let's go this, and put this on the screen.
Big change.
Oh, and we do this. And you guys have to tell me if you can hear it.
Changes could be on the way for Kiwisaver if it's to serve future generations. The latest retirement review makes 12 recommendations. Ones for immediate action include increasing government Kiwisaver contributions for low-income earners so support's targeted where it's most needed, extending the government parental leave contribution to $1,000 and removing unnecessary exclusions, which would allow those on temporary visas to join and people over 65 to receive employer contributions. Long-term recommendations include putting in a cross-party accord, hoping to avoid piecemeal decision-making, and having a parliamentary working party that sets a strategic 10-year retirement roadmap. Let's take a look at one issue that's having an impact.
That would be amazing. Bipartisanship. I'd love to see it. 10 years, locked in, leave it alone. Everyone's on the same page.
Housing. In the 45 to 64 age bracket, the number renting has doubled since the 1990s, up to 23%, while mortgage-free ownership's halved to 37%, pointing to more Kiwis likely to enter retirement with ongoing housing costs. Business correspondent Jason Walls looks at the proposals and the help for Kiwi parents.
And then there's, keep it there. I don't know why. Go back to this one, the solo one. Thank you. Look, now you get the pink. Yeah, so that's some of the numbers there. I would be interested to see what happens probably next year. Generally, the story was saying that I think Nicola Willis's comment was like, "Yeah, we'd totally look at these things if everyone else looks at them too." Just like, I think she was saying that like every party next year has to go into the election with the same policy. Like everyone's thinking about this, just not everyone's doing something about this. Just do something about this. Do something. Oh, I know. The fucking fund that Labour came up with, they would do something about it. Maybe don't fucking like Kiwisaver contributions, government. Only cost you, I think I worked it out when we talked about it last. It was 30,000, the contributions from the government, with halving it. I think over each person's lifetime, I think it was only $30,000 per person over their lifetime that would have impacted. That would have cost the government, which I know over the full population is a lot of money, but over 60 years, with putting it's basically forcing the government to save, and and they're just like, nah, it costs us too much right now. The next government can deal with this. We're in for hopefully 2 terms. Hopefully only one national. Hopefully only one. And like the Kiwisaver fund basically goes straight back into the government's pocket. And it also would have helped to increase home ownership, which essentially you take the money out of Kiwisaver and that money goes directly to banks. And we basically pay the banks all of that, all of that interest and stuff. So, also the other thing I was just thinking about as well, there's a really annoying headline that I saw in one of the New Zealand, Mr. Herald now, Mr. Herald now. It was a headline that really pissed me off. It said New Zealand's debt now up to $1 trillion, or nearing, I think it's like 800 billion, nearing $1 trillion. And made me really annoyed because I knew what it was talking about, but the average person who is all about, who's on the train of, oh, government debt, New Zealand's under, no, government debt, blah, blah, and I looked at the comments, and it was exactly that. I looked at the comments, and it was all those people saying, government shouldn't be spending all of our money, $1 trillion, this is awful. What the story was talking about, and I think Craig illustrated this, or he kind of explained it, and I'm not sure if he was on the show or if it was one of his podcasts. He was talking about how most of that debt is private debt. And that's what the story was talking about, is that New Zealand's overall debt is $1 trillion, but a lot of that is Kiwi's debt. So like it's our debt, it's the private sector's debt, being us. And obviously it's all of our mortgages. So our country looks like we've got $1 trillion in debt, but it's all of our mortgages. And that offset by our net wealth, which, as we learned, is fuck all. It's like really, for like, I think if you're in the top 50th percentile, I think your average wealth has to be like 500,000 after all of your debts. So it's basically like anyone who's paid off their home, essentially. Yeah, so our government debt, and like it really isn't that bad. I wish when Labour gets grilled on its debt thing and government debt thing, that their rebuttal would be that our debt is not that bad. There's a great graph. Someone was sharing it around. I think Chewie ended up showing it on the show. But it was showing where we sit in the world for our government debt. And we sit in this beautiful little outer circle of the graph. And it's like ours is the best on that graph. Our government debt is well below, I think it's 45% of GDP. And the biggest ones are in the middle. And it's like we're talking about the difference between us and the rest of the world is that the rest of the world is sitting at 87 to 100% is kind of your average from that graph, I believe. Then you kind of go into your inner circles and it's like 150% of GDP. And in the middle, you've got the like crazy ones who are like 200% of GDP, 180% of GDP. And we're just nowhere near that. And like, I'm not an economist, so I can't speak to it entirely, but I think we're looking okay. Yeah, Japan is bad. Theirs is, they're in a, is it a recession? They got a backwards economy. They fucked. They real fucked. They real fucked. Yeah. So I'd be interested to see if the government does anything with the recommendations that they have recommended.